dish, or baitanjan. This is falafel. This is hummus, and this is Arabic bread. And, yeah. Do you guys like the falafel?
تحب الفلافل؟ ايش المكونات بالفلافل؟
مكونات الفلافل عبارة عن حمص بهارات وشوية خضرة نطحنه ونحط عليهم طحين وكنا هسه هيك جاهزين للقلي بنقلى وبيطلع معنا فلافل.
And كيف بتعمل
الساندويش هي طبعا حسب الخبز، نحكي خبز عربي بنحط عليها حمص وثلاث حبات فلافل بطاطا وحسب هون الزبون شو بطلب، سلطة عادية بطحينية خس مخلل وزي هيك.
شكرا.
Sandwich. You can see the falafel inside. There's potato, lettuce, falafel, pickles, and this like cucumber yogurt tomato thing. Very good. So we just want to make a PSA that in this video we talk about how the Israeli occupation of Palestine relates to the dispute over where falafel came from, but all the information that we're relaying in this video doesn't signify our support for either side of the conflict, and we're neutral in the topic. We got all of our facts and information from reliable sources, so that's where our information is coming from. Yes.
So falafel was most likely developed in Egypt, but it's up to debate by whether who and when it was made. So some say that it started 1,000 years ago in Egypt, others say it started like in the 6th century, but most of the time, most people say it started in Egypt and that the European troops had an effect on the creation of falafel. So in Egypt, a lot of European troops were in like the port city of Alexandria, and they originally came from India. And when they were in India, they became really accustomed to like the fried vegetables or like fried like croquets, like little dishes. And so they asked like the Egyptians whether they could make like the local food version of these fried foods. And so people like theorized that that's how it was made. And but one of the more accepted theories is that it was just developed in the late 19th century.
Okay, so there's a lot of dispute surrounding on where falafel originated, and even though there's evidence of it originating in Egypt, there's a number of other countries that claim falafel as their own. Israel has been the most steadfast in their claim that falafel originates from them, and they have even put it into some songs and claim it as their national dish. However, it's almost certain that falafel spread from Alexandria to Jewish communities in Palestine, and these communities integrated the dish into their own cuisine, but it was still not widely accepted. And so the Jews who came to Palestine from Eastern Europe, especially during the 5th alien wave from 1929 to 1939, were more hostile than the original Jewish communities in Palestine towards the falafel because they didn't claim it as their own dish. And they were suspicious towards anything regarded as Arab, and they kind of stuck to their own cuisine and what they were used to from Eastern Europe, and kind of shunned or alienated falafel, and sometimes would even call it an unclean dish. So in 1948, Israel became an independent state, and so the Jewish people from Yemen, Turkey, and North Africa started immigrating to Israel. And so bringing with them their own taste of falafel, which had already been spread to their countries from Egypt. And so having already encountered falafel in their native countries, they were so happy to bring with them their food from home. And they cooked it without seeing anything strange or skeptical about it. And so this, not only did this help convince their non-skeptical co-religious that falafel was
a good food for Jews. It also allowed falafel to like shed its associations from the or with the like Arab people,
which not necessarily a good thing, but something that happens.
and this was something that the Israeli government was glad to encourage. And so in the wake of the Arab-Israeli War in 1948-49, there was a concerted effort to like foster a distinctive sense of Israeli national identity and to separate its culture and cuisine from other like places near their region, like their neighbors. And so this helped by the fact that many Yemeni students started opening falafel stalls. And so the Israeli government like avidly prompted the idea that falafel had not been imported from Egypt, but came from Yemen. So this kind of like also separated it from like culture and like by cuisine. And so this was obviously like a patent falsehood. Like this was not true, but it served its purpose. So after falafel's popularity exploded in Israel, it began to spread to Europe and the United States in like the late 20th century. So these immigrants would bring a bit of their home with them to their new countries. And so in the late 20th century, falafel began to reach, Europe and America. So it was principally by like the Arabs or Turkish people from their countries, and they brought it to Europe. So it became really popular in Germany, where a large Turkish population had put down roots, and they really, really enjoyed it. And so at first the dish was like primarily consumed by immigrants, but then in the early 1970s, the appearance of like Turkish food stalls and restaurants became really, really popular and grew in numbers in Germany, and the Germans began to love falafel as well. So this led to like another transformation of its recipes. So now Germany has its own version of falafel.
And so when falafel made its way to the United States, the process of it growing to popularity was pretty slow. Throughout the 1960s and 70s, it remained mainly in migrant communities. They were mainly the people who ate it. But in the last decade, the 20th century, it's begun to be appreciated by a wider audience. It's gained a lot of popularity by the just mass majority. For many consumers, falafel has remained something that's strange or exotic and not like an everyday food. But with time, cultures have mixed and social divisions have disappeared, and these associations have been pretty well overcome. And now it's kind of thought of by a lot of people as a mainstream, not American cuisine, but a cuisine that people in America will eat in the mainstream. It's not super foreign, or like they don't think of it as, oh, this is so foreign and so like different.
Mm-hmm. So this is really encouraging, because although falafel is like still very like divided in the Middle East between like Israel, Palestine, and the other countries it's come from, its fate elsewhere in the world shows that it can also overcome these differences.
And so despite the debates about where it came from and whose food it really is, like who can lay claim to falafel, what really matters is that it's something that we can all share and that we can all enjoy. And if we keep eating it and keeping in mind that falafel can bring us all together rather than keeping us apart and maintaining those divisions.
Okay, so countries such as Palestine, Lebanon, and Yemen dispute Israel's claim and name falafel as their own. So with the Israeli occupation of Palestine, many Palestinians believe that Israelis have stolen their falafel and passed it off as postcards at tourist kiosks all over Israel and call it Israel's national snack. So it's nice to think that sharing a cherished food brings enemies closer together, easing tension and misunderstanding, but the world's rawest conflicts can include disagreements over common foodstuffs like falafel.
Yeah, and especially with like the Israeli occupation of Palestine, like something that might seem so simple and so, oh, that's not a big deal, carries a lot more weight than it normally would. So also, the Lebanese have tried to have falafel recognized as their own, and even the Yemeni say that they're the ones who invented it. But these disputes are not just a matter of culinary pride. More often than not, arguments about the origins of falafel are refracted through the lens of political rivalries, particularly the Israelis and the Palestinians. And ownership of this distinctly Levantine dish is inexorably bound up with the issues of legitimacy and national identity. So by claiming falafel for themselves, each state is essentially claiming the land itself and dismissing the others as an interloper or occupier. So it's more about politics than it is about food.